So firstly, welcome everyone. I'm Chris Rushton. I head up the professional services team here at Fivetran in EMEA. And today we're here to talk about using Fivetran and DBT to develop a data-driven marketing culture and how you can unlock your marketing potential in 4 simple steps. And also thank you for joining me during the lunchtime slot. I wasn't expecting this many people, so I really appreciate that. So firstly, the overarching question that will drive your approach to marketing analytics is not, do we use data to inform our marketing decisions, but rather, do we have a data culture in the marketing department? And the difference isn't always obvious. So a 2020 Gartner survey demonstrated that only 54% of respondents' marketing decisions are being influenced by analytics. And of those 54%, 50% of CMOs were disappointed in the outcome of those marketing decisions. Now, why could that be? So data-driven decisions can often provide legitimate answers to questions that the marketing department or wider business are asking. However, these are decisions that are often made based on ad hoc reporting requests, decisions made on analysis of single campaigns, or analysis that don't take into account information and reporting from across multiple channels. So it's no wonder that CMOs are disappointed in the impact that data is having on future campaigns for their business. In almost 50% of those cases, marketing teams could not report on the ROI, the return on investment for those campaigns. So a data culture is concerned with the holistic approach a company takes to marketing decisions. Now, this requires cultural and organizational shifts, as well as an expanded portfolio of technology tools, of which Fivetran is one of them. So the objective of a data culture is that the approach is driven from the top of the organization. The key is challenging approaches to existing data analysis of, again, campaigns run in isolation or campaigns run on single channels. The idea is to ingest data into a centralized data warehouse to be able to report on campaigns run across multiple channels and be able to gain insights from those campaigns to inform future campaigns. So a data culture is also widespread across all marketing teams. This leads to an approach to making decisions that are driven by patterns across marketing channels, and with an acceptance that those decisions might disrupt the status quo. So what strategic marketing questions can you answer today? So strategic questions that businesses ask themselves influence the customer journey and are informed by traditional conversion funnels that we'll see an example of. Some of the most important questions that businesses want to answer include, how do we reach our customers? In what way do our customers engage with us? How much do we spend to acquire new customers? And are the channels in which we're advertising the right channels to acquire new customers or to convert prospects to customers? Finally, that question that I just mentioned, what's our return on investment for marketing campaigns? So with digital market analytics, this funnel is shaped by channels and metrics provided by those channels. Here's an example. This is a very simple marketing funnel. So if we do reference that conversion funnel, those channels that customers engage with are not monolithic. So we have social media platforms, we have display ads, we have direct interaction of your customers with your campaigns. Each of these channels has a number of different providers. If we just take social media, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have LinkedIn, we have Snapchat, we have TikTok. We have an ever-growing range of social media platforms. Each of these captures similar metrics or the same metrics, but often they're captured in differing formats. So in order to be able to create cross-channel analytics models, we have to look to normalize that data. We have to look to put it into a schema, into a structure that we can then build analytics models on top of. It makes it easy to gain insight from campaigns that are run across channels. So we understand from experience, this can lead to a lot of data. The amount of data captured can become overwhelming. A recent Salesforce survey of almost 7,000 people demonstrated that 76% of consumers expect marketers not just to anticipate their needs, but to personalize their experience. So to come back to my first slide, a company who makes point-to-point marketing decisions create reports in retrospect, only analyzing single channels or channels only run across single campaigns, doesn't really have a data-driven culture. It's more a token nod to the idea that you can influence the customer and the customer journey without invoking the organizational shift that's required to properly implement a data-driven marketing culture and properly create analytics models that run across channels. Once that refactoring takes place, it will be significantly easier to create those unified views that will be able to identify cross-channel consumer habits and offer a personalized approach to the customer journey. So in our experience, there's often a tipping point for when customers move away from simply making data-driven decisions to implementing a data-driven marketing culture. And it's most often when one or many of the most prominent marketing analytics pain points have been experienced. Things like an inability to answer the most basic questions about your prospects or customers, an inability to provide metrics for cross-channel campaigns, or an inability to answer commercial questions of the business around metrics such as ROI. In some cases, it's all of them. So as I've mentioned, it's an organizational shift that has to be driven from the top down. So we're talking C-suite, we're talking VP, we're talking heads of marketing departments, heads of other departments who have identified those pain points, have identified a necessity to change the culture, to move the culture away from simply making data-driven decisions on single campaigns or campaigns in isolation to looking across multiple campaigns. So in our experience, we've got, as you can see here, the modern data stack. The Fivetran platform as part of a modern data stack can be an accelerator to organizational change. But there are also other building blocks, as you can see here, that contribute towards a move towards a data-driven marketing culture. Firstly, centralization. Now, when we talk about centralization, we're sometimes talking about data. Centralizing data in a single data warehouse will allow you to build analytics models across all of those different channels, all of those different social media platforms or different ways that you're engaging with your customers. But it's not just data. It's not just a data-centric point. Centralization also includes cross-functional or cross-departmental teams working together. And this is a big part of the culture in data-driven marketing culture. Siloed approaches in the art of marketing are a pretty natural approach, pretty natural in small and large companies alike. And that's completely regardless of the data or the tooling that you're using. Bringing teams together reiterates the importance of cross-channel marketing decisions and subsequently how data can be leveraged to provide cross-channel analysis that will then inform future campaigns. Now, consider how you might begin centralizing your organization. You may pivot towards hiring generalists rather than specialists, people who can work across teams, people who can work on cross-channel campaigns with the wider business's requirements in mind, rather than just the requirements of a specific campaign or with the knowledge and expertise on a single channel. You may begin identifying roles that you don't have, such as data analysts, and having those data analysts work within marketing teams rather than in isolation. And if we consider whether you do or do not have those roles, this centralization can also be used to identify any hiring requirements that you might have, to plug any knowledge or resource gaps. Now, when we talk about gaps, secondly, identifying gaps. And again, identifying gaps can apply to data. Plugging gaps in data is key, is pivotal to creating a robust and enriched marketing analytics model. However, it's not just data. Again, it's identifying gaps in your teams, identifying knowledge gaps or resource gaps to be able to not just take a data-driven culture that is being imbued from the top down, but also identifying knowledge gaps and resource gaps to be able to embody a data-driven culture from the bottom up. Now, the latter point is currently very pertinent. Tooling, and Fivetran is an example of this, is becoming democratized. So when we're talking about knowledge or resource gaps, we're often not talking about knowledge of how the tool works. If we take Fivetran as an example, and I will show a demo, it's extremely simple. So when we're talking about knowledge or resource gaps, we're talking further downstream. Once Fivetran's landed that data in a data warehouse, what are you going to be doing with that data? So we need to get people into the organization working with marketing teams who are able to work with the data as landed, who are able to build analytics models to be able to gain insights from that data, and are even able to visualize that data using BI tools so that we're not just working with the data as a raw format. Now, ways that we can do this include things like skills matrices. They include things like career development plans to understand exactly where people want to go. This, again, can inform the hiring that you may need to do in order to drive that marketing culture from the bottom up. Now, lastly, the final building block is the modern data stack, of course, of which Fivetran is a part of. Now, whilst the tooling is not always the most important part of the building blocks, if it's simple to implement and powerful in its capabilities, as Fivetran and DBT are, then it can be an accelerator. It can be a driver of change. So Fivetran and DBT are just that, tools that can accelerate the implementation of a data-driven culture by removing blockers to adoption. So I'm going to go into a demonstration. I'm not 100% sure of the internet and how robust it's going to be. I'm sure you all tried to navigate to the fivetran.com website before or during this session. Maybe you weren't able to access it, not too sure. So I'm not going to take a chance. So I am going to go with videos for this demonstration, but rest assured, I did take these live. It is as simple as I'm going to make it look. So the reason this presentation is titled 4 Simple Steps is because implementing Fivetran and DBT is much simpler than invoking a change to a company's culture and can be implemented in just 4 steps. When I say 4 simple steps, I do mean 4 simple steps to implement the tooling that can be an accelerator, that can be a driver of change towards a data-driven marketing culture. So despite how simple it is, as I mentioned before, the right tooling can be an accelerated change by easing the transition towards making data the central tenet of decision-making in your marketing teams and part of the wider organization. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Fivetran, we're an ELT tool, extract, load, and transform. So the idea behind Fivetran is we extract data from various different sources, including all of your advertising or marketing sources, and we load that data into a cloud data warehouse. Now, this can be a Snowflake, a BigQuery, this can be a data lake such as S3, it can be a lakehouse such as Databricks. The idea being that we land that data from various sources into a warehouse and allow you to create analytics models that report across all of those sources. So instead of marketeers just working within a tool, so working within Facebook and using the Facebook UI to gain insights from campaigns, we can then look across all data for all campaigns, run across all channels within the warehouse. So where does DBT come into it? So DBT, I've got to stand over there, but of those of you who haven't gone to speak to them, DBT is an open source tool that Fivetran has a really tight integration with. So ELT, extract, load, transform. Fivetran does the extract and load. And once that data is landed, we do give you the ability to transform that data to create analytics models in whatever format you want, using whatever tooling you want. But we also have an integration with DBT. And DBT is a tool that facilitates transformations. With Fivetran, we can automatically schedule models to run after data lands. Fivetran's the platform that lands that data, so we know exactly when it ends, when it's finalized, when it's loaded into the warehouse. We can tell DBT to execute analytics models, raw SQL, to then take all of that data, all that disparate data from all of those different channels, all those different sources, and consolidate it into models that are going to provide insights to companies and are going to provide answers to those strategic questions that marketing departments and companies are asking. So, is this video going to run? Let's have a look. Let's maybe try a click. I'm going to speak over this, but as I said, this was done in real time. So this is the Fivetran UI here. Now, step 1 is selecting a data warehouse. Again, can be Snowflake, BigQuery, can be a Databricks, and setting that up within Fivetran. Now, this takes all of 2 minutes. All we need to do, and I've already set up BigQuery here, so we're going to use BigQuery for our demo. It's copy and pasting variables from the warehouse, pasting it into Fivetran, and hitting save. Authentication is taken care of by Fivetran. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to define the schema in the warehouse. Fivetran's going to do that once we land that data. All you need to do is set up your warehouse, well, select your warehouse, set up your warehouse, click Save and Test. Fivetran will handle that integration. Fivetran will handle that authentication. Fivetran will handle the creation of schema. That's step 1, and it's super quick. That video was like 42 seconds long. It might take slightly longer than that, maybe 90 seconds, but it's not much longer. Step 2, connectors. So when I say connectors, I mean the pre-built integrations that Fivetran provides. So Fivetran provides over 200 out-of-the-box connectors. These are out-of-the-box integrations with all kinds of sources of data. You can see a number here. Now, we're talking about marketing analytics. Fivetran provides, I think, 10 different advertising or marketing platforms that we have pre-built integrations with. You can see a few here, the likes of Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google Ads. We're extending that as well. So on our roadmap, we have the likes of Reddit ads and Amazon ads. So we're always improving. We're always enhancing the number of sources that we have pre-built integrations with. You don't need to code anything. This is all out of the box. You can see here we've already selected a number of these different sources. Now, the purpose of that is just to show you which ones we're going to be using to create cross-channel analytics models. Again, I'm going to show you how quickly it is to set up a new source, and in this example, we're going to take Facebook, one of the most used advertising platforms in the world. We click Add Connector, and then we have a look for the connector, have a look for the source. On the left-hand side, you can see that we split this up by use cases. We have sales analytics tools. We have product tools, finance and ops tools. Again, we have over 200 different connectors. All we're going to do here is select Facebook. We're going to hit next, and then we're going to start filling in some information. So Facebook is a super simple tool to integrate with, and this is the same for almost all of our marketing sources. I'm faffing about here in this demo. You can, again, do this in a couple of minutes. All that we need to do with the Facebook Ads connector is give it a name. Now, this name is going to be unique, and it's going to be the schema name that we drop data into in the warehouse. I'll show you this in a bit. We don't want to get too technical because this is a simple tool. So as you can see, we're going to call this BDL_Facebook_ads. Then we're going to select how we're going to authenticate. The easiest way to do this is log in with Facebook with a user that has access to an account that runs your campaigns. On the right-hand side here, there are different ways that you can authenticate with Facebook. We embed all of that information so that when you come to set up a new connector, it gives you all that information. You can use a user token. Again, we don't want to get too technical. All we're going to do is use my login with Facebook and hit authorize. Now you can see here, actually you can't see here because it's a bit small, in the URL bar, all we've done, Fivetran has gone away to Facebook. We're logged into Facebook. We don't need to do anything else. It's come back and authenticated. Now, the user that we've logged into Facebook with that has access to all of these campaigns has now allowed Fivetran, enabled Fivetran to load all those campaigns into the Fivetran UI here. Again, it's all done through the Fivetran UI. Now, you have the ability with Facebook to use pre-built reports or create a custom report. Now, the reason this is super powerful is that if you have a number of different breakdowns, action breakdowns, specific fields that you want to include in your reports, all you're doing is selecting them from the UI. You're not having to go into Facebook and start building reports within Facebook, again, siloed and isolated within Facebook itself. You're able to select them just from the UI, and you're building a report. So what we're going to do is select, well, we're not going to select a couple of fields. We're not going to create, this is just to show you how easy it is. But we can build custom reports, or we can use pre-built reports. Now, those pre-built reports are, if you're not comfortable with building your own reports in Facebook, you're not comfortable with the fields that Facebook lands, you can use pre-built reports that Fivetran provides in order to expedite the process. So what we're going to do is have a look at how that data lands in the warehouse once I've finished faffing about here. So once it lands in the warehouse, again, Fivetran is going to create that schema. You don't need to do anything in the warehouse. It's all going to be handled automatically. Again, all we're doing is going to ingest data from your different marketing sources, land it in BigQuery as our data warehouse, and we're going to have access to all of that data to execute cross-channel analytics. So if I click through, what are we going to do with that data once it lands in the warehouse? Fortunately enough, Fivetran has the ability to execute those transformations using DBT. As I mentioned, ELT, extract, load, transform. Fivetran has already landed all of the data for all of those sources in a warehouse. What Fivetran then provides is an out-of-box integration with DBT. Now again, DBT is simply a platform that facilitates the transformation of that data. All that data lands from all of those different channels in BigQuery. We then execute transformations to create analytics models to answer the strategic questions businesses are asking. Again, that's across all channels. It's not isolated to a single campaign. As you can see here, there are a number of different models that Fivetran provides. All of this is provided free of charge, and executing those transformations is free of charge with Fivetran. You can see here, these are out-of-the-box models. So we can look at things like ad history. We can have a look at things like ad report, campaign report. All of this, these are just models that we provide out of the box to be able to execute cross-channel campaigns. All of this, again, is done through the Fivetran UI. So you don't even need to be an expert in DBT. All you need to do is run this through Fivetran. Fivetran will automatically execute transformations after we land that data. So once you've set this up, you don't need to do anything else other than schedule Fivetran to land that data and execute those models. You see, we have a number of these out of the box. So if you have, trouble defining what you want to gain out of that marketing data, you might have an idea that you want to look at ad spend, CPM, impressions, clicks. All of those actually already roll up into the models that we provide. You don't need to build anything yourself. There's no coding here. It's just dragging and dropping, clicking around in the UI. So if you have a look at the ad reporting package, you can see what we actually provide. So once we scroll down, there are a number of different reports that we provide, a number of different models that we provide out of the box. As you can see here, we roll up data from every one of these advertising platforms: Apple Search Ads, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, Bing, Pinterest, Snapchat, TikTok, and Twitter. You might use one, you might use all of these. Our model will take all of that data in, model it into a fashion that makes it usable by you. Using some of these out-of-the-box models, account reports, campaign reports, all of this is going to roll up things like impressions, clicks, spend. You're going to be able to analyze not just the performance of your campaign, but also answer questions about something like the ROI of your campaigns to the marketing department or to the wider business. So we also provide lineage graphs. Now you can see here, this actually demonstrates all of the different sources that we're rolling up into a single model. See, we've got Facebook, Google, we've got LinkedIn. That's actually currently running. We've got Twitter, and we've got Bing. Now, what's this showing? This is showing the source, and it's showing all of the source tables, and it's showing how we transform that data. We're doing that all for you. You don't need to write a line of code in order to do that. You can see here all of the different source tables. You can select more, you can select less, but this is what's offered out of the box. All of this rolls up into a single ad reporting model and lands that data in that model in the warehouse. So once it lands that data in the warehouse, what are you going to do with it? It lands it in a raw format. It's going to land it in, the form of just data. And again, we want to make this super non-technical. We want to make it so that marketeers can start getting insights from their data. We want to make it so that you can start getting cross-channel analytics models running across all the channels you're running your campaigns on without actually writing any code. Fivetran is facilitating that. And just to reiterate, we trigger that after the data lands. You don't need to create a scheduler. Again, you don't need to code anything. It's all done from the Fivetran platform. Now, I've probably only got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to show you what that actually looks like on the next slide. Visualization. This is the fun part of data modeling. So once we've landed that data, how are you going to get insight? How are you going to provide back to the wider business how much you're spending on campaigns and how much they're making for the business? How are you going to use that information to inform future marketing campaigns? Again, just to recap, we've got connectors. We're landing all of that data in the warehouse, and we've got DBT models, again, executed by Fivetran, using Fivetran's written DBT model, so you don't need to write anything other than just selecting it from the UI, and we're landing that data in the warehouse. Now, shortly, I'll skip across to the warehouse and show you how that data lands. But again, we predefine the schema. You don't need to create anything in the warehouse. So again, once I stop faffing about here and go across to the warehouse, again, the pitfalls of a video, you can see here's the ad reporting model. And here are the different fields that we're rolling up. Again, these are fields that we're normalizing from all of the different sources. So all of Google Ads, Bing Ads, Google Ads, all of that is normalized into a schema here that Fivetran defines. You don't need to do anything. If we then have a look at how we visualize it, this is the fun part. So again, you can simply use any BI tool you want. You could use a Looker, you can use a Tableau. We're using Data Studio here. Now, you can see we're loading in the ad reporting model. We then have all of the schema, again, that Fivetran creates available to you. You're just then dragging and dropping to create a dashboard that looks like this. Now, what's important about this dashboard? All of this information is rolling up information from every single advertising source. Again, you're not having to go into Facebook or go into Google to do isolated analysis of that data. We're rolling up information from all of those sources, and we're then able to gain insights through our analytics models, through this dashboard, across all of those different channels, all of those different campaigns. So let's think about some of those strategic questions that the business wants answering, but that we also want to answer as a marketing department. How much are we spending per campaign? How are we reaching our customers? There's a channel that we're advertising on, the right channel. All of this can be visualized through, again, just to reiterate, setting up connectors in Fivetran, executing models that we provide, landing data in the warehouse, and then visualizing that data to report across channels. You can see here on the right-hand side, we're just dragging and dropping. Again, you don't need to write any code. This is the fun part, actually, just dragging and dropping information and making it look nice, and visualizing all of that insight for the business. Again, this is super simple. There's no code. It's all going to be just dragging and dropping. So Again, I've only got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to cut this short. I actually didn't make this dashboard. Mine looked like I'd made it in Microsoft Paint. This is much nicer and was built for me by someone else. So let me just quickly finish up. Just to reiterate, tooling is not the only factor in driving a move towards a data-driven marketing culture, but it can act as an accelerator to change by demonstrating how quickly and how easily data can be centralized in a data warehouse, how quickly cross-channel information can be centralized, how quickly we can visualize it, and how quickly we can answer those strategic questions that marketing departments are asking and the wider business is asking. So let's come back to those 4 simple steps. And actually, it probably took longer for me to show that video than it would do for you to set up advertising connectors in Fivetran, to select the models that you want to run, and to create a dashboard. So those 4 simple steps: setting up a cloud data warehouse, setting up sources in Fivetran, setting up the DBT transformations, and creating those dashboards. Those are the 4 simple steps. So you can start with Fivetran, with our 14-day trial, demonstrating that back to the business that we can create cross-channel insights in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes. It's not that long. I'm probably being facetious. It's about 15 minutes. So just to wrap up, I've probably got a couple of minutes left. I think the takeaway is let Fivetran and DBT be the catalyst for data-driven marketing culture in your organization by unlocking your marketing potential in those 4 simple steps that I just mentioned. And whilst I don't think I have time for questions on stage, I've got the finish coming up. You'll see Fivetran over in stands 406 and 506 over by the entrance. Any questions on the presentation, any questions on the tool, on DBT, any questions about me? I'm not that interested. Please do come across to stands 406 and 506 over by the front. Thank you very much.